Hello everyone who are watching this video at any point of time. A separate hello I guess to Twitch audience, because as I reckon this is the platform where English speaking audience of mine currently prevails for a long time. But if you are somehow from YouTube, no offense, greetings as well, dear viewer. This is again me, GTA Speed, aka Maxim2337, and welcome to the podcast that was planned by me around 1 year ago. Let's say I started to ponder on it as soon as I discovered the date mentioned in the title and thought it fits perfect for devoting it to, because I got a gut feeling that despite huge amount of time for recording, I won't tell anything sensible anyway, and thus devoting it to, for example, a channel's anniversary or any other remarkable celebration would be quite not the best idea. I'll say straight away that this video most likely is going to be very long, perhaps even extremely dull, and at some points completely absurdous and difficult for perception, for all it's gonna contain is merely my flow of thoughts accumulated since long ago that is low-fortly enveloped in some sort of literature form. I intentionally will not insert any video materials, but if there are any small media inserts currently on, I'll play a subtle sound alert. For one, in order to avoid the done file killing my hard disk, for two, to let you play this podcast on background, maybe set double playback speed and keep doing your other stuff at the same time. I'm sorry in advance if there will be any unedited stutters or speech mistakes or even mistakes in the script itself. You know, I'm doing such a thing perhaps for the first time ever, plus a bit tied up in uni at the moment. Also, I sincerely apologize for my terrible English and my terrible pronunciation. The thing is that this script is basically a translation of already finished Russian version of it, and of course I'm gonna try my best to outperform Google Translate, therefore the info is kinda already processed by me, so I can perceive it for myself a bit better and remove the unnecessary stuff like some ifs due to cluelessness of what it is in the video next, since it's just nothing there yet. However, don't put onto me some high hopes. I'm still quite a noob, but really gonna do all what depends on me to make it sound smooth and understandable as possible. Sorry once again in advance. Also, for your convenience, the script has timestamps for fast forwarding to key parts of the video. Well, I think enough of warming up, get yourself some tea or coffee with cookies, make yourself comfortable, and let us start. Alright, to begin with, let's talk about the date, which is, as of writing these lines of script, is yet 6 days away, but when this video drops it's already gonna become history. I discovered it for myself by complete accident, just while reading a profile of one speedrunner where they claim spending on their hobby around 1/3 of their life. And for some odd reason it's caught me so tight that I decided to check this ratio for myself. I made an equation, thankfully I had nothing better to do on that evening, and found out that I've nearly missed the same milestone for myself, and that it's going to occur exactly on May 9th of this year. Yes, it's on that very day comes, well, for you it already has come, such a moment that I run my channel for as long as exactly 1/3 of my life. And it seemed to be what's so special about it. But if you think carefully, could I ever imagine at the very beginning making it that far? So I consider it to be a good reason for this podcast, and that's why, before we move to the main part, I would like to take this opportunity and thank you all yet another time, regardless of when you're watching this video or how long or much you support me, for all and any kind of your activity during all this period. I truly just cannot overestimate it, and probably my words are nothing but a drop in the ocean comparing to what I really feel. But still, really guys, thank you all a million. I am immensely grateful to you all for everything. Well, and now onto the topic of podcast, and more precisely onto questions, and I had two of them when was deciding to make it. The first one, and one I more would like to answer for myself. And why am I still here? After such amount of time, events that happened to me, creative crisis, and those very notorious false goodbyes. What's been keeping and still keeping me for these 7.5 years of my life? Is it a speedrun addiction, attachment to community, or just ending up in some Groundhog Day? I'm not sure if I have the answer even now, however, on this time I'll try to reveal myself to maximum and say everything that earlier I was just, as it looks like, shying away to say. And the second question, I guess it is more down to earth, we'll talk about what's happening with my channel in general sense, what will happen next, and etc. But before I get to the answers, if they even can be called that, I'd like to retell you briefly, spoiler, it's a gap, the history of my channel. Firstly, because not everybody does know it due to joining at different time. Secondly, it's gonna be important for understanding stuff that's going on now. The thoughts of making a YouTube channel first paid me a visit not quite prior to its birth itself, approximately in the end of 2015, when I started to actively learn how to use this platform as a viewer and came across GTA Let's Plays by one Russian blogger. By that moment I barely played PC 3D parts of this franchise and all my attention was focused on stories, because it's exactly them what was the starting point of my gamer's path. I guess I even had Hundo in LCS to that point already. Back then I had no any particular content ideas, I just wanted to start filming in order to find some, if it's correct to say, soulmates. I didn't think neither of views, therefore nor any kind of fame, I only wished, putting it very roughly, to spread the word of my love to stories. This way the year 2016 came, and one day I'm, after the long time of ignoring, for the first time ever clicking the Zazaza691 video that has popped in my recommendation feed once again. Now he is also known as just Zaza or Waffle. Without having a single idea of what kind of treasure I found, I started binge watching one of his videos after another, and for some span just lost touch with reality. This channel was ideal for me in all terms: smooth and coherent information flow, truly unique for Russian segment and I'm pretty sure for international one as well at some points, content, lots of people who breathe with stories in the comment sections, and of course stories themselves. It lasted up until July of that year, when Zaza started streaming, at first just stories and then not only. Without a doubt it was very significant discovery in my life that, fast forwarding a bit, got me in contact with truly interesting people for me, and they already were interesting not only due to GTAs or even video games in general. And here it comes, guys. Day X that coincidentally happened literally a week after Zaza began streaming. He uploads a video about the back menu in which he absolutely without intention mentions Redlov's LCS 100% speedrun. It was the first ever speedrun in this category and it was done in around 14.5 hours, just for the reference current world record that is on leaderboard is 5 hours 48 minutes. That was the first time when I heard the word speedrun with having some awareness of its meaning, and I just could not suppress my curiosity heading to watch it straight away. And to say I was shocked is to say nothing. I was so astonished by totally new concept, system of use on the games. I got used to so much that the base content idea for my own channel emerged literally in no time. In just a couple of days I registered on Twitch, by a lucky occasion Redlov still streaming the same category, and I can't describe right now all the feelings I experienced back then. My entire being simply dissolved in that new world that I was completely clueless about all the way before. Of course I didn't have any idea about the gist itself. My level of English, that is the main language of global speedrun community, was somewhere for below zero, so I couldn't come up with anything better than film stories parts in form of speedrun walkthrough, just taking several missions from Redlov's 80% speedrun for each episode. These were my very first video on my channel that were recorded with awkward mic that was trying hard its best to catch shaking with terrible fear voice of a 15-year-old schoolboy that had almost less than half of useful content, for my intros and outros were taking nearly 10 minutes altogether, and naturally that didn't have a slightest hope for getting at least a dozen unique viewers. When I gained minimal experience, I, all out of fun, invented a challenge for myself, to try out running a fragment from Redlov's speedrun with my own run. That would include setups of taking a PCJ instead of Sanchez to the start marker, buying weapons and etc. as ones of the highest brain level. Right now it is known as IL, or individual level runs, well, with only difference that just one and not several missions is being ran, but obviously I didn't even think about something like that. Things started to work, I began getting times that I recognized, and being enjoying spirits finally found courage to ask for advertising for the first time. I addressed to Zaza, me and him were already quite close by the day, and he told about me in the intro of one videos about unique vehicles. The effect of several new viewers was just overwhelming for me, because I've already known some similar cases of such ads, and thus didn't wait for anything but zero result. Meanwhile I, being contented with life in general, finished LCS and started Vice City stories. By that moment I was advertised in a couple of more places, which gave me a decent motivation push. In 2017 summer I did my first run of the own category, aka non-existent, and there is going to be a lot of them next up. I think I'm not gonna stop at it, because I still feel ashamed to remind myself about that. The same summer I joined GTA Speedrun Community Discord, server about which I found out by complete random chance from one of Zaza's viewers who kindly gave me a link. And somewhere from back then, all the circus began. I turned into a complete clown, starting to write bullshit messages on server, comparing myself to the king in my videos when I got fake greens to Redlove, and many other things I already forgot by now. So just requiring attention without any good reason or merit. Oh yeah, and on top of that making, I guess, the biggest mistake of my life by starting to speedrun playthrough GTA 5. The last one made me lose almost all the audience, as it was based on all GTAs, as well as any motivation to make content itself due to mere lack of skill. It was my first large creative crisis, and it took me a lot to overcome it mental-wise. I dropped GTA 5 and switched to GTA 3, but the stats were already at its lowest, no matter what I was trying to do in order to rescue my channel. On this note came March 2018, when I decided on buying an advertisement from a big gaming YouTuber. Right now, in my personal opinion, they're lost, I don't quite like their content and style, but back then they were making videos that were similar to mine, so the decision was taken with ease. On the first wave I got around 400 subs, which itself obviously was blowing my mind. I couldn't believe such response is real, and let I even begin to realize, since the very first videos after ads, that a small fraction will remain active afterwards, it didn't make me any upset. I was just genuinely happy to see anyone entering my videos, leaving likes, and of course I felt over the moon when they were commenting. And all seemed to be just perfect, but the thing is, the video's format itself, which I liked so much all the way till then, slowly started becoming a bore for me. I wanted something more than that, but I just didn't know what exactly, because full game speedruns back then seemed to me as something beyond comprehension, both in terms of skill and time consuming. However, here comes the summer of same year, and I carry out my first ever stream. All I was doing on it is just searching all existing fixed vehicle spawn points in GTA LCS, for yet another meme run that nobody needed. But the whole process of live talking to audience in real time has caught me so much and gave me such a strong motivation push that already in August I dare for my first, as I called it back then, serious or professional speedrun. And namely, it was first non-IL category that really existed on the board, let even on the meme one. And it was Overdose of Trouble percent in GTA LCS. That was fun, in all senses. I guess I've never experienced bigger desire to cry from shame and despair before that. But viewers' activity on streams was staying the same. However, what here was the decider for me and what literally was warming my heart is the fact that in just a couple of months I have built myself a stream community. By coming to every live, cheering me up after every bad luck, and creating that very cozy atmosphere when seemed to just talking even between themselves only and discussing non-GTA stuff at all, it has let me understand the fundamental principle of this platform. Happiness is not about hype and not even about high stats. Happiness is realization that somewhere afar there is someone who is interested in you with that particular content you make that is interesting for you as well. There is no and there has never been a point in charging yourself to fit some stereotypical standards if it causes your rejection. This statement will become a long-running motto for me, but let's still break it down to the end. Simultaneously with new content, I start doing GTA Vice City speedrun walkthrough, in old format, but I already barely find it giving any joy. I clearly lost the point of such runs, laughed at former myself screaming in happiness to fake greens, and right mid playthrough switched to a new format, turning my episodes into true ILs, trying to implement the fastest possible setups for missions, and already comparing myself with times from IL board. Going a bit ahead though, I'm gonna say that even this format didn't hype me up that much, and near the end I barely put any effort in it and promised myself to quit making such videos once and for good. Somewhere around that time I start entering the speedrun community's lives more and more actively, and by that point it was already successfully rocking everybody with catchy streams with new and new goals. Roughly back then, I took up conscious leveling up my English, began watching and reading more English language content, talking on streams. However, all of that was finding obstacles in form of some of my communication peculiarities, about which we're gonna talk a bit later. Meanwhile comes the year 2019. Oh yeah, a bunch of my memories are connected with this year, and I am way too lazy to recall them all, but I'm still going to try. Of course, LCS Portland percent, grind with stubbornness at not switching to gamepad according to LCS crew advice. crazy messages at streamers, chat rooms, grind monkey syndrome and everything I speedrun. And in that year, I found courage for, I guess, one of the most desirable but seemingly unreachable categories. I started running GTA Vice City, first 20% with SSU, then without it, although it should have been the opposite. The later took me 1.5 month to set my first PB with time of 1 hour 13 minutes, taking into account that my execution level of first missions could promise a 54-51 minute full run, got banned in Discord server and in many community streamers chats for my weird behavior, and many other. All that resulted into gazillion of jokes and laughs, turning me literally into a meme. However, I just could not understand what I was doing wrong. For all I needed is communication, for which I hoped so much while merging into community. And all that led me to the second serious creative crisis in late 19. I got knackered by streams, endless resets, and realization of worthlessness imposed on me, and took a simple decision to go offline, which unfortunately due to absence of any other content was the same as quitting the channel at all. But 2 short months and I, pretending it's all been a silly joke, come back with running less intensive categories and also getting close contacts with some particular community members who cared about me, which helped me a lot to bring myself back self-confidence. It was the finish point, starting from which I completely stopped paying attention to the channel stats, and finally set myself a quantity-quality genesis in which prevails the latter. Meanwhile, I took a slow walk on the path of correction, with eventually switching to gamepad when running stories, which obviously gave its effect straight away. It smoothly lasted to the autumn, when though yet another crisis was already waiting for me. It was way back in early 20, when YouTube for the first time began throwing my channel into recommendation feeds, and looks like I should have been happy about it, however, not in my case. Without going into detail and saying it very quick, I just got tired of some members of newcomers audience who were laughing at me constantly resetting Vice City no-SSU runs that I was back again to. Not gonna hide, mostly it was a consequence of my weird specifics, but it drove me to do a thing that I was supposed to do a year ago but haven't done due to the dumbest reasons, one of which was insufficient level of English. I took streaming on Twitch, of course with alerting about it on YouTube. I don't want to discuss in detail my thoughts on differences between audiences on these platforms right now, in order to not potentially hurt or diminish someone, but let's put it this way. A bit before that I began realizing one thing. I am not able to give YouTube audience in full extent what it, speaking in fact, deserves with its activity. Unluckily I just have no capability to entertain, to communicate with chat on required level during my speedruns. I cannot emanate that very festive vibe for just because I barely can see it in countless resets myself. And I have no right to blame anyone for that, because putting it in simplest as possible words is just 2 different platforms, on one of which dwells the audience that is treated by years. Not gonna lie, it's not flawless either, but at least judging by obvious fact of majority of popular content creators are present on it, I'll just feel more comfortable there. So I migrated to Twitch, catching literally its final period when you still could get noticed without doing much. Plus, thanks to the fact I visited a lot of other streamers, it was even easier for me. Things went up, I quickly came back to normal after a little breakdown, the same way as on YouTube. I didn't care about any sort of popularity, for it was just enough for me of that cozy atmosphere and vibe that was being created by people from community, who were interesting for me, with whom I most importantly was on the same page, and who accepted me with some of my weirdness. And there we go, all problems seem to be cleared, but no. 2021 spring, known events, my reckless action, and silence is golden, they say. Is it always true? Hard to find a definitive answer. And is there gonna be any point after all? Alright, enough of cosplaying Hegel, as I can see for now, we aren't even half through the video. I get, like the saying goes, what I deserved, and finita la comedia? Yeah, I guess I had to mention it earlier. Of course I was submitting my runs to speedrun.com, however, no, without any intention of beating someone, for sometimes I struggled to even beat myself, but rather just for my splendid essays and descriptions. Okay, jokes aside, certainly I've had some competitive spirit, but after meditating upon it all calm, I came to a conclusion that I'm not ready to say goodbye to my channel for the second time due to that, and kept running just for myself. But it also didn't last long. In only 3 days after I got long-awaited sub 52 in no-SSU, I come across the news that happened something that already seemed impossible, and namely, a new strategy has been found for this category that saves around 30 seconds. To describe what I felt back then would be though something even less possible, because I simply couldn't believe that is happening in a game optimized like that. However, to my biggest regret, this threat turned out to be receiving a frame-perfect phone call, and I had to give it up, for keeping to grind with 95% chance of resetting on first 5 minutes was beyond my energy resource. This gradually was leading me to the second thought of quitting now channels, but I decided to keep my cool as possible, and with solemn path of ceremony left for good with C only, finishing an awful run in duplicate beforehand, just because I wanted to try this category for a long time. Remembering about the case from 2019, I hoped that I've made right decision, for lying to everyone for the second time would already be quite shameful. Meanwhile, the fear of more spontaneous decisions prevailing over me is being seized by announced half of a year ago and finally released at the end of 21 summer a project, the first project by 1926, now known as Barcode Studio. It was an underground global mod for GTA 3, with storyline about Russian-speaking speedrun community members. Of course, I just couldn't allow myself skipping it, and let I even launched Triple 3 years ago for the last time, I experienced enormous enjoyment completing this mod on streams. A little later, 8026 transformed into full-fledged Barcode Studio, and meme mod into popular among lots for early redemption. And I'm afraid to tell lies now, but during all that period my channels detected the biggest within forever activity and audience increments, I think to mention the audience of really competent and interested. All of that, along with final, to that moment speedrun goals that were successfully met, has started to push me onto thoughts about casual playthrough as a quite promising place to be, and no, the term promising for me, I remind, wasn't about hype and stats races for a long time elapsed. These streams, same as speedrunning ones, have pretty quickly emerged their own community, and the main point is that during them I, let it wasn't perfect either, was able to provide it with at least some payoff on my behalf. The plans themselves for casual gaming were already visiting my mind not much prior, and first of all, I wanted to touch GTA 4, about which I heard a lot as about last GTA that I still can call a GTA according to my tastes. Of course, there were popular demands from the subs such as GTA 5 or Mafia Lost Heaven, but I decided to go into GTA 4. And, oh miracle, it didn't let me down, leaving truly positive impressions. Streaming it was just terrible? What? There was supposed to be the word wonderful or so. Yeah, it was, but something didn't go right. It looks like speedrun community has put some curse over me, and carrying out any streams became similar to going into hell for me. Well, I'm not an expert at curses, but the curse of, as I named it, Supersonic has definitely found me as a good target. Alright, back to serious vibe. I've quickly realized that playing games for the first time on a stream isn't the best idea. However, it's exactly first playthroughs that allowed me to give out at least some kind of emotions on camera, and feeding the audience with plain gameplay without any commentary is a so-so idea as well, so I didn't see any other solutions. At such semi-speedrunning and rage manner, my GTA 4 already Honda walkthrough has come to the end, but despite that, it delivered me a certain amount of joy and found its own audience, including even new one. Meanwhile, the first anniversary of my banishment from speedrun community was nearing, and I, after comparing all pros and cons and finishing a couple of categories in still untouched GTA Vice stories, decided on the most desperate action for entire history of my channel, declaring the all stop for my speedrunning career as whole. I won't recall if I thought about correctness of that decision back then or not, but I just didn't see any point in attaching myself to community where literally everyone was against of me and where I'm just no longer welcome. No kidding, I miss Twitch and some kind of its unique charm, but being rejected by almost all people whom I found interesting for myself, it's all faded in realization of how one reckless deed could make such a huge impact on everything. Saying adios to speedruns, seemingly now forever, I come back to GTA 4 episodes, and there was no sign of trouble before. Jesus Christ, is there gonna be any limit to that? Yep, late February 2022, and you know what events. I won't say with precision what I was feeling back then. I'll only say that rumors about YouTube might be blocked in Russia started to appear just a week later, and honestly on those days I was too drained out to perceive them anyhow, for my mental was merely failing to withstand that absurdous amount of garbage happening around. In a challenge fashion, I almost speedran the rest of episodes that I've liked a bit less than original 4, after which I took a decision to create second YouTube channel. And straight away I spelled out loud and clear position about it. It will have content of that kind and that amount as I want. I realized from the start that it's a doomed idea, but relying on any improving of situation, both with my absolutely fickle mental and with fact of potential blocking the platform was beyond my being, I didn't want to make a complete trash can out of my main channel, both main parts of which have already become almost meaningless. In fact, and if speaking with full sincerity and from the heart, I envision this channel as some sort of Twitch channel's brother, because my love to streaming itself hasn't died out. However, I've lost any faith in ever finding such content that would not irritate me and at the same time would find its audience of at least minimal. Gonna fast forward a bit, I've managed to accomplish the latter quite well, but the former, I guess I can only consider Mafia as somewhat adequate content which brought me a decent dose of pleasure, even though obviously it could bring more if it wasn't for first time stream playthrough. By the way, a funny thing to mention is that the person who was waiting for it so much has only visited around 10% of its streams for all the time, but whatever, who am I to judge them? Along with that, after thinking it all over and realizing mistakes, I gradually come back to the community, where surprisingly for me, I'm accepted as nothing happened. In fact, nothing really ever was a thing, it's just someone should have started developing their social skills, but alack, that wasn't my case. I begin to realize that I can't live without these people. With some of them I've been in touch for years, and our communication topics have long since switched to non-speedrun ones. At instance of thoughts like that, I perhaps for the first time within 6 years was turning back to past, realizing what gift the chaos theory gave me, and how lucky I was. When I was just starting out with my activity, I just didn't believe that it would make its way from a hobby to something that would give me the emotions of that sincere, and of course these emotions are not even close to joy from yet another PB, but rather something much bigger. This way steps in August 22, and I, unexpectedly even for myself, decide on a thing I've been pipe dreaming I guess ever since August, but one of 2016, when I saw Red Wolf speedruns for the first time. Yes, I'm coming back to Twitch after a long break on some of most senseless non-existence for my second YouTube channel, do my first ever Node.js speedrun. To be honest, at the beginning I didn't even hope for at least one completed Portland segment, however, 1 week and 250. Yep, this is time of my first ever speedrun in the most popular category of my favorite childhood game. I think there is no point in describing all the emotions I've had then. The key one of them was simple joy, and not so much for sub 3, but rather for the fact I succeeded in overcoming my fear. I've never experienced such ease of life in that moment. No words could convey that. I guess if you try summoning a Patronus in Harry Potter world, having this kind of emotions, its vibrations would reach out to the sky. Of course the run itself was garbage, and I came back to grind, and in one more week getting a 245. This 5 in the end already slightly annoyed me, but I still decided to stop due to the fact that way back in June Barcode Studio made an announcement. King started developing a global mod for LCS, Syndaka Chronicles. And in fact, when I saw this announcement, I thought that it's some sort of giga stupid joke, for I merely couldn't believe my eyes. I've been waiting for something like that, I reckon ever since I got my very first LCS Hundo, back in 2014. However, I knew it would never happen because of how the game's engine works. But, as they say, nothing is impossible when you are truly in love with what you do. Anyway, the emotions were similar to ones I had after first Node.js run, and I realized that I don't have any right to not beat it on streams at my main YouTube channel. Well, let's say a little of tortures by the conscience about one more scam, and here I am, doing big announcement on second channel about soon come back to the first one, with promising to upload their Node.js PB as well as pass global mod for LCS. Besides that, for the first time I say such words as Swansong. Yep, in fact, way back after saying goodbye to Vice City in 21, I suddenly have set myself an ironically serious goal on quitting at least speedrunning at Reset's age. I got inspired with his update video in which he was fully fair and square, honestly declaring the necessity to change his life. Certainly I doubted it would ever lead me to something, but I have to give it a shot. The time, meanwhile, was ticking down, and I decided to end my activity in natural sense of this word with a speedrun of one category or one casual playthrough, and here when I faced the dilemma. I clearly knew that speedrun and casual gaming having different audiences, and I, despite occasional periods when I don't want to see anyone, cannot betray either of them. But soon I found out quite nice solution for this and ran a battle between those who want to keep watching the content they got used to and those who like my new casual format. The point of the battle was predicting a time in which I complete a speedrun in one of several suggested to free choice categories, and at the end spinning a picker wheel, on which casual and speedrun sectors are going to correspond to how good were predictions by members of either side in overall. Moreover, an absolute winner with the best predictions among winning side will get a chance to say the game or the category they want me to play or speedrun respectively. All of that was conducted by me on Twitch and second YouTube channel for duration of a month, and in the end I felt so exhausted by speedruns that, as it seemed to me, if speedrunning comes up on the wheel, I'll just lazily say frog you all. But thanks God casual side wins, however, the greatest joke of all times happens. The absolute winner of that house requested first Hitman walkthrough with executing a bug to skip all the missions. Like no timer means not a speedrun. Best logic, I'm gonna use this one as well very soon. So the request was accomplished literally within the first evening, and a few more days I was speedrunning for real just out of fun. Got pretty much decent time, and it became my first speedrun.com submission after 1.5 years of ban in community. After that though, I found myself completely lost what to do next, as the release of at least beta version of Syndaka Chronicles, which I paid for at the very start, was yet 3 months away. I decided to spend this time on Twitch, where practically have already taken peace with whole speedrun community, and where I just felt comfy to do what I'm interested to do. Okay, boring waiting, fast forwarding a little, the final moments of running second YouTube channel, and yep, 23 February, the mod drops. It seems like I wasn't that much fearful for crashes in the mod, but rather for my chaotic mental, that could deprive me of slow, enjoying experience in the game I'd been raving about for almost 10 years. Despite little under 1 year of idleness on my YouTube channel, it showed, as well as Twitch did, decent viewers activity for entire duration of the playthrough, which obviously made me happy. However, a beta still had enough of bugs and drawbacks, so I decided to wait with full-fledged experience for after public release. Furthermore, how come I could miss a chance to flex like a clown in Studio Discord server with first ever hundo that took me 5 days with a small dose of dirt in form of emulator state saving. Gonna mention it now, the release will take place in June, and I, meanwhile, suddenly for myself, have recalled one moment from Redlove's stream, when he started talking about the possibility of GTA LCS leaderboard soon separates from general series on SRCom. Something like that already happened to SA board, where mods just got tired of endless fights and proclaimed some sort of autonomous state for the board with its own ban policy, and naturally a pardon for runners who aren't the bloody violators, and of course I seemingly already wasn't one. Fairly speaking, I already stopped caring about SRCom by that point, but for the sake of some sort of, I guess, history, I felt like getting a better time on Node.js, and also I wanted a new PBN playing any percent. The goal for the former was chosen sub 240. This seemed more than real, accounting for how bad was my 245. I was streaming both on Twitch and my YouTube channels, however, the latter of which, for the first time since long, looked to begin fading activity-wise. I could understand it, because during speedruns, like I already said, I just cannot give what do YouTube viewers want. I merely have neither enough of energy nor enough of desire in order to even somehow react to epic fails, let alone maintaining any sort of interactivity. Twitch, though, along with that, kept smoothly growing. Perhaps it was somehow affected by affiliate status that I got back in February, and which I actually could get all the way back in 22, but I had some issues with filling in registration form, so I was good with Twitch alone. It lasted till April, when I suddenly recalled about a promise given to myself, and I'm right, I was 21 for half of a year, and it was time to decide something. After inspecting all the SRCom categories, probably already for millionth time, I assured myself that apart of two I mentioned earlier, I don't want to do anything, and decided yet another desperate step, and namely declaring some kind of ultimate goal. Node.js and, if I spare enough time, 8.js are my final runs that I finish before turning 22, which happens in mid-October. The time window looked big enough, so I didn't feel much pressure. Yes, the game even decided to give me a heaven call, and already in the end of month I get a PB with desired time, even a bit better, with a bonus gift of decent new record to important percent, which is one of my brightest 2019 associations. The run still wasn't perfect, and being more correct, it was absolutely disgusting. I somehow found a way to fail one of the shortest and easiest short-set whale missions due to the silliest mistake, which resulted into roughly 3-minute time loss, and me losing, as of then, 4th place in LB by just 3 seconds. But, as any grind monkey or me from the past would say, Portland is fine, and thanks for that. Without letting myself get too much upset, I move on to second category, any percentile JS, and here is when the fun begins. Unfortunately, in this category we need to get an on mission 0 state, and the only fast way to do it in LCS is a frame-perfect trick with triggering a firefighter side mission and picking up the rampage at the same time, which is, trust me, much harder than it just sounds. But that's not it. In the fastest route, before 1F, we need to first summon a fire truck by throwing a molotov the way it makes at least 3 fires. Then using this fire truck partially complete on mission 0 run over rampage, hoping for at least 25 out of 30 kills before turning to Salvatore expansion. Then finish the rampage on a PCJ on the way to Vincenza, start his mission, pick up one more rampage, and activate Vigilante mission at a precise point, in order to, when the rampage runs down, start Frighteners, the way it coincides with a specific value of Vigilante mission timer, which will give us the final credits, which is just the point of the category. Yeah, I know, very rough explanation, but just for your info, it took me a week to get only 2 or 3 successful mission zeros, and if I remember it right, only one of them made it to setting a timer value, and sadly I was unlucky and my game crashed at the very end. On those days I also had Thesis Defense coming up, plus Syndaka Chronicles official release was supposed to be around the corner. Anyway, I ran out of my patience, that category wasn't something super important for me, that's why on May 9th, yeah, what a wonderful coincidence, exactly a year before our date, I text to one of my loudest fans the following. Honestly, I couldn't keep my laughter when reading this afterwards, but they say miracles happen as long as you believe in them. The game, meanwhile, actually gave me a long-awaited sub 15 in few days. It was T-minus a week before the set date that I spent on attempts to improve my overdose of trouble percent time, which, well, already was to no avail. Yes, it was my first non-AL category, and indeed I really wanted to end almost 5-year-long relationship with it on getting a sub 20 by new timing. Of course I had same desire about NoJS as well, but sadly it already was far too late as our semi-meme deal has taken its effect. And lo and behold comes May 20th. By the way, from that day and to this video release date is also gonna be a year, so that's why I decided to drop it with such a delay to make things look beautiful. In already traditional half circus, half solemn atmosphere I proclamate going into, as I called it, abstinence from speedrun activity. Oi, how many more times you gonna lie to us, Speed, you might ask, and I'll answer, I wish I knew myself. But being serious, that decision did have something behind. We're already very close to the end of this part of the video, guys, hold on. Roughly on those days I discovered the date you already know about and started thinking about this very podcast and more precisely about the reasons why I'm still here after all that crap. And May it was very uncertain, but I had an assumption that it's typical addiction out of which I just need to find a way out. But assumption is not a fact, so just simple as it is, decided to check myself for how long I'm gonna make it. My lowest goal was 1 month, the highest wasn't set at all. The lowest one turned to be quite easy, officially released SC, Thesis Defense have taken me all without leaving any time for sorrow. But just next up I went, as you may call it, Breaking Bad. Pretending I like new barcode worked so much, so I start passing it on streams again, first allegedly for improving in-game time stats, then the same but already without emulator states, which at its end turned into true suffering with both missions that was similar to what I felt during full-fledged speedruns, but at least I met my goal. Well, you got me, speedruns with absence of timer and any serious goals this gets. But I still found it interesting, so far didn't feel like doing classic speedruns, so my conscience was quiet. Along with that though, my 22nd birthday was slowly approaching, and I've recalled about my, as I named it, reset-edge goal. Could I consider it done by going on abstinence? Overall, yes, I could, but knowing myself too well, I already just didn't believe that I won't fall on a temptation again, especially when, as luck would have it, I suddenly begin being baited for speedruns by literally everyone and everything. By Redopter, who just started trying LCS as well, by Twitch viewers who seem to forget at all why am I doing it, so I just postponed it for one more year. Therefore, I still wanted to make a normal Sven song, and not that Hitman walkthrough with a bug within one evening. This time I decided not to deal with any battles, instead I just created a poll on Strapole. I pondered for a long time on options list, because I wanted to check both myself, am I still able to play games for the first time live, with at least lowest amount of sanity involved, and the audience, do they even need it or not. Even now, semi-joke dubs, in its fairness, enter my mind sometimes, but full pool peaked to 36 votes, and pREAMBLE that had sectors corresponding to number of votes for each game said GTA 5. In general, I didn't mind. For back-end wanting announcement, I have warned that if I don't find something as interesting, I just will not continue. However, I was too lazy to download GTA 5 of that heavy, plus my grid still made it to beat me, so I came back to LCS to clear 2 remaining goals, sub 20 in Overdose of Trouble, and, more important one, Node.js for, as of then, bronze on the board. Summing up, I have lasted for exactly half of a year, without taking into account quickie practice sessions, without a timer, not much prior to this. Can it be considered a reliable elimination of speedrun addiction out of reasons list? I think it can, because generally I didn't feel much pain, and if it wasn't for these 2 remaining goals, I guess I could make it even further. So I concluded my 5-year-long pass in Overdose of Trouble percent with a cherished sub 20, and what to do next I didn't know. I wanted to hold a bronze medal for Node.js just for lulz, but for that I had to finish a run before Redopter, but on the other hand I wanted some accurate info about the leaderboard. Frankly speaking, I could avoid waiting just by sincerely apologizing to certain individuals, and that's what one of the incident defendants did, but unluckily I only found out about it from them a month after my PB, which itself wasn't a bronze one anyway, because Redopter outperformed it literally one day before. But as we say, sub 235 hasn't lost its sweet taste to that, for if you remember when I was starting out with this category 1.5 years ago, I didn't have faith even in one adequate finished run. The first session, if it can be called like that, of already actual Sven song went surprisingly smooth, even YouTube decided to wake up after a long nap, and even almost reached average figures of 2-3 years ago. However, Twitch still was dominating, which, without a doubt, I reckon completely deserved, for I just can't imagine more boring GTA 5 walkthrough. Neither did I read into the story, nor did I comment beautiful graphics, just as if I was afraid to jinx the game's kindness to me, which after all gifted me phenomenal quickness of beating storyline in only 12 streams, without even having supersonic mode patch on. I can't say this game seemed to me perfect, but as the saying goes, viewers count about 0, means time wasn't wasted. Good lord, I've made it, haven't I? Indeed, I can't believe it. Yeah, it wasn't that brief, I'm sorry. Fun fact, I even added at least couple of new sentences compared to original Russian version because considered it important to say. Actually right now I feel slight euphoria from recalling all I could recall. And the reason why I did this is actually in order to figure the question for today's podcast as deep as possible and give you the answer of maximum fairness. Yeah, I know that you have every right to tell me go frog myself after these many circus shows, but I still want to give it one more shot. Thus I came to it with all my responsibility, well, or at least tried to. Alright, so how did I go through this all? Through 4 goodbyes, through Ethercom ban, through all the fights, creative crisis and mental breakdowns. Why did I give so many chances to the activities that seemingly only caused my negative vibes for such a long time? I've done, as I think, a decent mental work, and here is what I can say for now. I've distinguished 2 main and global reasons. First reason, and in my opinion the key one, putting it in most general words, it's community, and to be correct, communities, in plural. You could have thought now though, Spet, you're a bad troll, enough already. You're rejected by everyone, you've been laughed at by everyone, your content itself is just doomed for darkness, and your endless illusionary, oh, you're just imagining, I feel great. And you're still obsessed with these people, looking for some happiness from being around them. And I can getcha. This statement visited my mind quite frequently as well, but despite that, when I opened my eyes a bit wider, I realized it different. The whole thing is social life, as this notion is something I've never had in my life, in any form, being fully sincere. At some points I was trying to solve it the way I could, at some points I was just facing it, but realizing later I hadn't been experienced enough, and so on. It doesn't really matter here. I've created my channel essentially in order to look for ones similar to myself, somebody with whom I could share my emotions and thoughts from something that just demanded releasing emotions and thoughts. For when I found out about the speedrunning for the first time, I was plainly astonished. At the beginning though, I didn't even hope for myself being good enough to merge with new environment, because even now I barely talk to new people and it comes with enormous stress, let alone what was back then. Nonetheless, I've succeeded, and may even here I've had, so to say, moments of weirdness, but I can safely say that these communities are my first ever places where I've got confidence in myself and my abilities. And this became real only because of the fact I was accepted the way I am, with my peculiarities, flaws and views on life. I didn't need to act according to some far-fetched stereotypes merely in order to make someone pleased, and for the first time could I feel the true happiness of being myself. No doubts there is no such thing as ideal communities. Of course, sometimes I met people to whom I wasn't able to prove anything, even with all my poor experience at communications. But as I already said long ago, I've never pursued the quantity if it meant sacrificing the quality. I know that for many it sounds like a pathetic excuse, and they have a right for their opinion, but again, I think that here is not the case when one should be attached to arguments imposed by someone. You may say, Speed, but there actually were some whiles when you wanted to just leave everyone exactly due to being tired of everyone. And not gonna pretend, yes, that was the thing. I don't know how to make it sound any sane, but I suppose I've got some sort of inner communicability quota, and using its resource for talking IRL or active one here, I was just running out of it. However, it doesn't rule out the fact of realization that after taking a rest, I would come here where I don't need pretending to be someone else to pay for being treated kindly. Many people I found interesting have never even attended my streams. Many viewers though have long since removed their barriers of estimating how interesting my content is, and of talking about channel related stuff in general. It's the same streaming on Twitch that I frequently use plainly for mental reliefs, and it's unlikely I could even dream of it when I was just starting out. Back then I was happy that I'm just being listened, watched, however now I can surely claim that I'm happy that I'm being understood, and perhaps even being loved. And it absolutely doesn't matter what's the number of such people, let it be even one. I will anyway feel grateful for it, and probably even desire to pay them back, but unfortunately I can't think of anything I could offer, apart of just not going dark. I can't say that totally nothing has changed IRL for these 7 years. The channel did make a decent impact on my mates, not too huge socialization, however it still provides the most of my communication with the outside world, and that's why most likely did it become my key reason to stay here against the odds. For I suppose there is still a certain chance that if I deprived myself of the channels, I just would haven't dealt mental-wise with all the events happening around the world and negative vibe they spawn. And if maybe I didn't get into full-fledged depression, as it is by its scientific definition, then I would have in best case scenario become a typical doomer, desperate and faithless. And I'm not that far from it even now, but yet I'm not ready to completely refuse communicating with the world, at least for now. And now the second reason, perhaps it's gonna sound to you even more absurdous, but I still consider it necessary to list it. And its gist is in the fact that already for quite a long span of time, I love creating, in all and different kinds of forms. And the thing is, I don't do it for drawing some attention, I do it rather simply for some kind of emitting the accumulated feelings and worries, demonstrating my current mental state. This includes stream titles, timer layouts, layouts of a stream itself, thumbnails for videos, layout of whole channel in general, since recently, rewards for channel points on Twitch, and many others. The desire to do it all enters my mind mere randomly. Sometimes no one even pays any sort of attention to that. Sometimes they do pay attention and ask me about my mood, but the point is that I just get joyful when doing it, and for me it is some kind of meditation, during which I process my thoughts and convert some particles of my soul into media form. Furthermore, way back in 2017, when I was just learning how to use Adobe Premiere, for some reason I liked doing it so much that watching every new tutorial, be it writing the text or compressing a final file, because back then I had extremely low upload speed, was exactly like a new discovery for a 5-year-old kid. It didn't make me feel any bored, and as time went by, I only wanted to do more and make it closer and closer to perfection. I guess I won't even lie much if I tell you that editing on beginner amateur level even was seemingly the first idea considered by me as potential freelance work field. However, watching many other content creators, I realized that they're times better than me, but that wasn't demotivating me. The will to fill my videos each time with newer and newer things, even just for myself, has not faded, and imagination was only skyrocketing. Not gonna lie, even now the perfection for me is a world away, but speedrunning has taught me such a truth that perfection is an ephemeral notion that is only defined by those who strive to it, so I'm happy to move forward. It's once in a blue moon I use any references for that kind of creativity, as I prefer only looking for inspiration in myself, and I guess, just like with being myself, I do find the true happiness in it. Sometimes I would question myself, and is it all some kind of weird agony, an attempt to life support something that is practically already near the death or has died completely? And I think I'll say that it's half as true, because I did point out one more factor for myself that forced me to stay here. However, it's related to the second reason, and as for me, can barely be classified as a proper third one, so I'll consider it as a half of reason. I know that may sound like some real paranoia, but occasionally the channel arouses inside me a desire of some sort of bucket list, or rather an urge to give myself all out, to speak myself all out, to complete everything I would ever want to complete, and etc. In order to quit if I would ever want, and do it with absolutely quiet conscience, in order to never regret something hasn't been tried or finished up to the end. Moreover, I often look at my channel and see it as, I don't know, some kind of archive of a certain period of my life, the period I don't wanna seize, and even despite sometimes I curse myself when speedrunning some category or playing a game for the first time on stream, afterwards I realize that I'm saving the soulful memories which could be gone forever, and thanks to that I would always have something to rewatch in cold winter evenings, to laugh at myself, at former mistakes, and so on. Quite frequently I do that thing, and it brings me genuinely warm nostalgic feelings, so can it be called an agony? In a way, yes, because there is some, to put it simple, rush to make everything and anything before some death, and I guess it's not my biological one, but rather death of mine as of an artist and my brainchild's creator. However, on the other hand, as long ago said one of my professors, an artist dies exactly at the moment of ending their creative search. As long as they are in motion, breaking the obstacles to reach, metaphorically saying, the stars, the new ideas, they are alive. But as soon as comes the consistency and absence of this journey, then firstly knocks the overall withering, then weakening of imagination, and then disappearance of motivation to do anything in general. Also, they compare this to photons that emanate the light in life while moving and sink the world into darkness at death when stopping. Don't quote me on that comparison being scientifically correct, but I always found it immensely poetic. And here we get some sort of closed cycle, where both ups and downs prevail alternately, and I'm more than good with that, which is why I keep going. Oh boy, is that really over? To be fair, I would never thought saying it seriously in a video that basically is some confession for my sins, but I feel somewhat proud of myself. It seems to me that it's the biggest introspection I ever done upon myself for all the time of my activity. I do realize that it hardly ever pardons all my lies and other deeds of these years, but I have squeezed everything out of myself, so I have nothing more left to offer you. Hopefully such answer for the podcast question will satisfy you, of course, provided you are really interested in it, for I have some feelings that in the end, just like with all creativity I mentioned before, I've mostly done it for myself and for self-comforting, so to say, read some type of mantra, I guess. Alright, I think that's it for this part. However, I would like to finish it with some kind of an afterword, where I'm gonna tell you about several questions which I tried to answer during this analysis, but for one reason or another, it hasn't gone successfully. And the first such question is following: and have I made it to escape from myself? I can put it this way: all my quittings certainly were, in some way, the attempts of escaping from myself. Somewhere it was due to nerves, somewhere just due to cold of heart, but at every attempt I was trying to change and make some new version of myself. Did it help me? In some terms, yes, it did. For each time I realized that I'm here for a reason, and isn't it where one could give up researching? Perhaps someone would find such an answer incomplete, but I suppose that at the current point this question turns into a dilemma and becomes meaningless to be further studied, which is why I put it in this section. The second question was that, and have I made it to overcome myself? And here, before looking for an answer, I preferred firstly figuring out what does it mean to overcome yourself? To overcome your fears, insecurities, lack of self-confidence, or rather to just accept yourself in your natural variant. And I can probably say that I didn't quite succeed at the former, but I guess I did manage to complete the latter. Obviously, excluding moments when I was absolutely wrong, I've succeeded at making my channel and myself the way it looks to me right, and putting it in harmony with the audience, which is likewise present here in order to see a person they want to see. Yes, not gonna pretend there are still some problems that remain unsolved, thus I cannot answer this question 100% affirmatively, however, I reckon that I've surely carried out a tremendous work over myself, which I guess I couldn't even dream about 7 years ago. And lastly, the final, well, at least of those I've tried to meditate upon, third question, which is most likely isn't even a question, but rather very tough moral choice, and I've put it this way: and can one abandon their Saviour? Am I allowed, after everything that my channel gifted to me, after all the emotions, hopes, faith in the future, communications, new contacts, to just shrug and dryly say, nah, nothing has happened, and disappear to strive, allegedly, even further to even better life, leaving all the people who essentially salvated me behind? The issue is, I faced similar situations of myself IRL, and back then I called it for myself nothing else but a betrayal. Is there any difference here? While thinking of that, I have browsed some abandoned channels, such as, for example, Vadim M's Russian channel, if you know it by any chance. They, in my opinion, have explained in quite detailed way the reason why they are doing what they are doing. And yeah, I know, for many of their fans it turned to be an offense, like, you're staying for second audience, but leaving us, what the frog? But, let us gonna sound very cheap and trivial, but what could be the consequences if they stayed? Yes, of course the content itself would have kept being uploaded, however, one of the same quality. And if looking even more far and wide, would this person still be the one their audience got used to perceive them? The one they accepted and got used to perceive themselves? The one for what they are being loved? Or rather it would become an absolutely different individual. When I was about to start my second channel, I actually felt something like that. I was trying to run away from myself, to change something. I was saying, as a joke of course, things like different nick, different YouTuber, but all of that I was trying to do while keeping my identity the same, my fundament that was a solid stand both for myself and for my audience. And back into the question, is it actually allowable to quit those thanks to whom you are now reaching heights, in case you are afraid that you've run out of your give back resource? Again, it's a dilemma. If you stay, you'll basically deprive them of that very you, leaving them with only different you. If you do quit them, you'll be able to remain unchanged for them, to gift that very right you. Let it be in memories, but I'll be for good, and without the risk of your wrong copy's invasion. What's the right choice here, as I suppose, must be decided by a person in each particular case on their own. Speaking of me, unfortunately, I cannot answer this question with certainty as of today. Well, now that's really it. Thanks for taking part in my school project. You all were an object of the research, congrats. Okay, not the best time for jokes, I know. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel. Huh? What? You're still reading video titles in 2K24? What? I'm scamming you yet again? No, what you talking about? It do be coming now. If you're interested what's gonna be next, I'll tell you. Stay calm, gamers. Alright, that was a little relaxation instant, both for you and me. I totally realized that your brain might already be nearing its boiling point due to watching this video. I, who is struggling out his best, first writing, now translating, and now sounding this damn script, don't have it in its best condition either, but please have your patience. I'll unironically do everything that depends on me in order to deliver you the second part as clear as possible, and without cosplaying a sub-philosopher who is under the influence of you-know-what things. Well guys, actually it would be the best here to just spell out the spoiling answer from the video description, but speedrunning has taught me not to look for easy roads, so I'm gonna try and tell you what's going on as of today. I know that it will sound like one more joke after a joke after a joke and so on to infinity, but as of today I'm in the midst of yet another umpteenth creative crisis. However, the seriousness of this statement and its difference from all similar previous ones are in the fact that if earlier I did have ideas but didn't have energy and desire for fulfilling them, then now I can say for sure the situation is much more tragic and almost the opposite. Why almost is because if I'm quite sure about presence of second component, let not absolutely sure, which is why it's almost opposite, then this first component is now something I don't have at all. I really just don't know what to do and what to film. Speaking of speedruns, I've accomplished my last goals, and by the moment of now, the list hasn't updated. Yeah, sometimes I feel like improving my LCS Node.js PB, but it stops completely as soon as I see Redopter's time, just like it was with Vice City NoSSU in 21. Now talking about speedruns in general, for some span of time I find it a bit difficult to formulate my thoughts. In fact, being fully honest, they've ceased attracting me in true sense of this word. Way back 6 months to 1 year after my ban, and I only wasn't quitting them due to community they were giving to me. About speedrun activity itself as it is, I feel that I've sort of grown up for it? I doubt how to express myself more precise, but neglecting the audience, for which I'm, goes without a saying, extremely thankful to this hobby and which I really appreciated a lot, I still possess my love towards it. However, I've simply run out of will to engage in it that much as I used to. I cannot say I've started totally hating it, no, I still find it somewhat fun and I still enjoy watching and chatting at others, but there is no longer former aspiration to thoughtfully watch PBs and enthusiastically learn new strategies and categories. I've almost never been truly joyful for my new records, mostly doing it as a part of stream creativity and in order to at least somehow bring frequently that online back to life. Or else, in my last runs I was already hardly ever raging to the major fails. I mean again, raging with true sincerity. Pretty often you could see me coming back to meme non-existent runs, which in essence is nearly pulling the content out of bat. Yes, one of its reasons out of doubt is already mentioned weakness. I suppose that I've just given all I could give into this world, and now I'm ready to yield the way for the new people who, as Sansara's Law says, are stronger and better than me. And I don't see anything shameful here. That's how it works everywhere in our lives. Sometimes we don't even pay attention to that. However, what I still consider the key factor is that I've just stopped seeing something in it that I used to see before, and that gave me, so to say, non-refundable motivation, without asking any self-sacrificing back. During the recent abstinence, that feeling only grew stronger. I begin to realize that in order to push that limit of that utopian mystic perfection even further and further, you have to somehow glorify that very perfection, which requires splendid and passionate images and references. And if all the way before that it was spontaneous and changed from category to category, from one green to another, I was able to do that, then now I'm just not able to do that at all. These are the main reasons, there are some more, but we'll talk about them a tiny bit later, after breaking down another side of the content, which I've tried not so long ago. It is casual gaming. And here the situation with ideas perhaps could avoid being critical, but the whole issue is that I just do not have those qualities that are needed for making interesting or at least adequate casual gaming streams. I've given them such attributes because I know them also having their audience, and I can't let myself ignore it and fit with garbage, made them even unconsciously being good with that. Quite often in life in general I abide with the rule of it's either everything or nothing. I did realize that I want to give myself back, but I just don't know how. This at last leads us up to those more reasons I mentioned little earlier, but actually they're barely less important. First of all, it's that majority of those whom I even saw both on my YouTube and Twitch are, after all, those who are waiting for something more that I just couldn't give. Yeah, there are those who accept me in my, let's say, natural form even here, but they make relatively small share, which sadly, no matter how arrogant does it sound, does not motivate me well enough to keep creating such content on constant basis. Yep, there were particular moments when, despite even lack of motivation and fatigue, I still felt some interest for myself without even caring if it's gonna fly or not. For example, Syndaka Chronicles videos. But I'm sure if I keep always doing such content, that will already drain me. The next factor, which in fact is also applicable even to speedruns, is that I do not want to create content that has a purpose of pursuing hype, to somehow fit myself to it, merely because it is not unique, it is not original, and I don't want to bother researching some references, then slightly alter it for myself so it's not a complete plagiarism, just for obtaining some phantom hope for popularity, which will give me absolutely nothing. Yes, obviously, we could enter it from the other side. There are plenty of content creators, even of my kind, but right now I was talking in general about any sort of attempting to change something, including even myself, in order to sometime, one fine day, see it working on this exact format and giving me false happiness. As already said many times, for me happiness is in quality and not in quantity. So even if I ever want to change something, then firstly I'll be doing it not for, if it might be said so, unknown popularity or one that is yet to come, but for popularity that is already real and known, investigated by me. Well, and finally, as you like say it, last but not the least, is that my so-called communicability quota that was mentioned in this video already a while ago either has become far too low, or I find some mysterious ways to drain it by being a way too active homestucker or hardly ever talking to anyone in uni, but quite frequently I just can't even make myself to be at least somewhat talkative on my own streams. Occasionally I'm trying to stupidly excuse that via being trivially exhausted, not wanting to convey set vibes, etc. However, it still remains a plain fact, even the simplest runs or gameplay commentary turns for me into pure torture. And I already don't even know what could be done about that, but perhaps, surely not to make this problem grow even worse with my new hobby I'll shortly mention about. And so, there you have it guys. Somewhat like this are the current key reasons of my new creative crisis. Probably at certain points some more are present, which are situational, but at the same time there are also a bunch of reasons that forced me to believe and fight it back. And I already told you about them earlier, and trust me guys, if it wasn't for main one of them, and namely the community, and I guess it's again more like communities in plural, then I can almost assure you there would have been now neither of this video nor 234 and LCS, let alone just huge number of other things. The streams have become for me such a place where I can just relax mentally, chat about the topic that are completely unrelated to the content, so to speak, recharge my batteries after accumulated negative energy, and generally spend my time with people for whom I've become someone bigger than some plain content creator. This is seemingly the only reason that wasn't subsiding even for an instant throughout all the time lengths of my activity. However, as of moment of now, and how the saying goes, speaking straight from my heart, I can see that even that audience, which I've already supposedly called loyal, regular, starts not always being interested at everything I do. Way back 3 to 4 years ago, I was occasionally encountering such comments as, dude, you're making pretty interesting content, but your online is below zero. Maybe you should try being on good paces more often. Hey man, and when's X speedrun? Speed, and how about playing Y game on a stream? And with high frequency, it was asking about the games that just weren't my cup of tea, like Essay, or rather even its speedrunning, for which I simply would never physically have enough of either free time or energy. And at first times I tried not paying much attention to them, for I realized that my field is quite specific and I shouldn't expect, especially factoring in my zero charm, dozens of viewers. However, each comment of that type, each request, left barely noticeable subtaste in my heart. And here, lo and behold, today, Twitch for like 1 to 1.5 years already, I think, has significant triumph over YouTube activity-wise, and I can't say that it somehow makes me like critically upset or something, or that even Twitch itself is 100% all fine, but this somewhat occasionally demands pondering on itself. But all up till now is still occurred insignificantly rare, which is why I've stayed here, all until today. And despite whatever, let even well won't deny, since recently I was more active only on Twitch. Not gonna lie, within last year I noticed multiple times that the audience on streams changes a lot, and both on YouTube and on Twitch. And I'm already unlikely to someday see on my channel folks, so to say, from even not the distant past, It's pretty often that I would even see them literally on channels next door, roughly at the same time when I stream as well. There are also plenty of those whom I've seen just once at all, perhaps there is a chance I still pop up in recommendations. Yes, of course, there are ones who are with me through second scene, so-called true fans, who always had special gratitude and respect from me. I can safely claim them already being my people, my homies, but in spite of that, it still was for me the greatest joy to greet new people, talk to them, for they were creating that very cozy atmosphere, that very vibe, for which do I carry out the streams. And ignoring some rare mental breakdowns, I kept coming back to them again and again with immense amount of happiness. Just because I'm happy to see that someone still needs and is interested in my activity, and that there are still people, let them making a small share, who are interested at me exactly as a human being, rather than as speedrunner or gamer. And this just can't be put in any words. Anyway, streams have turned for me into a special place with its own microclimate, and become, I guess, the last stand that's been seized with that grip by my desire to keep running the channel. So guys, for that you have my merely endless gratitude, absolutely all of you, regardless of duration or amount of your support. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I just can't imagine what would I have done without it all. Probably, that's for sure, there would haven't been even the tiniest part of my current accomplishments. And after all of that, what's gonna be next? Speed, you've scammed us all again. Not only did you bait us for listening to your hello low-skilled self-exploring, but even now you're still going in circles. Give us some damn specifics already. Well, if giving the specifics, the list as of now is actually pretty much humble, and Twitch users are already aware of it. First of all, and what is to be expected at 100% chance, is new old project by Barcode Studio for early redemption reissued. As I'm writing these lines of script, it's just been at last officially announced. Unfortunately, the release date is so far just this year, but the development is gradually coming to a close, so I'll be glad to complete this truly global mode on streams, for it's something I'm really interested at. I can't say that the audience of such projects are gazillions, but it exists, and I myself one of its representatives, so that is definitely scheduled. One more 100% walkthrough is to be seen here. Next is something that also was only known by Twitch till recently. It's some kind of DLC, a meme tribute to Redopter, I guess, and namely LCS Noje speedrun, but let's say with a little twist. Some might even say cheating. However, I've already done something like that for fun with other categories on my second YouTube channel. I think you may try looking for some hint there. So I suppose it'll do for fun, but that is yet in question. The thing is, originally I wanted to make it offline and then hold the, so to say, gRaNdReVeAl for some birthday or so. But then I thought, why would I not stream it? I anyway haven't got too many content ideas and decided to run a poll on Twitch to see if people wanna see it online or not. And most likely as this video drops, there will be at least any votes. A little detour from the script. There are already votes, there are already 3 votes as of 5:16. Maybe there will be even more, so probably, yeah, it's gonna happen. Plus, I'll actually will be able to conduct some tests for this run. So if the voting turns out positive, then most likely you can expect a certain number of streams on this speedrun on YouTube as well. And finally, when I beat either the letter or boss, depending on FRR release date, I'll try to come back into GTA 5 to pass it as close to Honda as possible. However, warning you straight away that I don't have that burning desire to do it, so that's also in question for now, but do not lose hope, since the chance is still above 0. What is gonna be after that though? Good question indeed. Now, absolutely without a grain of jokes or sarcasm, I don't have a clear answer to it. Not gonna hide it way too long, back in the start of Crisis, namely at the end of last year, I've ran such a, if it even can be called like that, trend on Twitch, yet another trend about Reset's age, although it's already long since not even the one. Initially, by the way, the comment response only had hex code with emotes, and I've promised to reveal a decode hit for completing 12,000 point community challenge, but it was done literally within several streams and by one sole person. I'll be fair, I didn't see any special reasons when was starting it, except for maybe some simi-mimi placebo for raising the activity. And you obviously might say like, Speed, you're already a pro with Creative Crisis, why are you panicking? But I already explained what's the difference of the current Crisis from previous ones. Hopefully I've done it detailed enough and as clear as possible. Also, as you could notice, after revealing the hex, I've added Bank of Ideas reward. using which one can propose their suggestions for me on what to stream next. And I set 2 restrictions on that. The first one, it shall not be speedruns or related to them, and the second one, it shall not be something finishable, if such word could even exist. To put it simple, it shouldn't be something that has a particular goal like complete the game or earn an achievement in it. In the table I've also listed several of my own ideas as an example of what I'd like to see, and we'll talk about it a bit further. However, so far for several months to now there hasn't been a single usage of this reward, and to be fair, I already doubt there will be any ever. Not gonna avoid telling the truth, it was actually my deliberate move to set such tight restrictions and to not announce it anyhow on YouTube, just because I realized that my conscience won't already allow me to do anything poorly, especially when it's a request by basically loyal fans who became to me, like I already said, practically my folks. You may say though, and that lately happened surprisingly often, even upon quite low overall activity, literally it was not so long ago last time, Speed, you've been pushing all these podcasts that your audience is your everything, and that nobody cares what content you make. Why are you still whining about some mythical cringe? Just do it in cringe way already, fuck it. I get your point guys, but please get my point too. To make anything in cringe way, a desire is also required, and in my case, perception of the channel with such content as well. Yes, it sounds like fixation on some sort of feng shui or perfection, but it is my channel and I don't want to do something that contradicts the way I envision it. Sometimes it passes and I can do such stuff, but if it doesn't, then I will not have motivation even for it to be cringe. I hope that it didn't sound way too harsh or rude. I truly appreciate your support and willingness to watch me, so to speak, in any form, but unfortunately my heart doesn't always allow me to do it. Then, what I'm really ready and eager to do, you'll ask me. Ain't it simple one either, to tell you the truth. Let's firstly take a brief walk on the restrictions I've set on the bank of ideas. Speedruns. Well, this one I think it's self-explanatory, I have explained whole situation and not gonna do it again. But speaking of much more all-embracing second one that actually overlaps even with the same Sven song, the main part of which I've equivocally entitled The Eternal Wait, and actually did it for a reason, as like waiting both of yours and mine for whenever I quit, and also waiting for my comeback. This one, I guess, is already just yours. I don't have an idea, honestly. I'm struggling to answer. The only possible answer that is in my mind, and which may also relate to the first restriction, is not wanting to burden myself with any kind of commitments, like often was I even offered to do some grind or category saying, Speed, nobody's gonna take away your PC if you don't complete it until insert date. You always may stop whenever you feel like and etc. But that doesn't click for me. I've already said at some point that I cannot do something for 50%. And right now I don't even mean recently mentioned doing poorly, boring, without interaction, etc. I rather meaning leaving the goals unfinished. I find it terribly irritating even IRL, and so far I don't have enough confidence in my mental that I want to experience that feeling again, both about speedruns and other goals. Besides that, now slowly coming to some sort of conclusion of that thought and in general to already third round of reset age goal and descending to something more down to the earth, I don't know how much time and nerves it might take, and literally in 1 year I'll be already graduating from my masters, most probably much harder than bachelor's one paper is going to already take me also in September, and I'll have neither energy nor any free time to responsibly finish my goals. And they're going to stay as dead weight in my head, poisoning the normal life. Speaking of which, well, gonna add it really humble, it's high time to brighten it up with a job or at least looking for it. Plus some minimal elements of social life would also come in handy because to avoid, well, direct quitting reset, I don't want to one day end up like them, and shortly I'm about to turn bloody 23. But let's get back to the question. I think it won't be much of a lie if I say that even GTA games, as they are, that I've liked basically for half of my lifetime, with each passing unit of time are gradually wearing off on its status. Again, I cannot think of it as any hatred or rejection, but it's just somewhat I don't get the former thrill when I simply launch them. There is no longer enthusiasm from spending that much time in them as I used to before. Even when I watch speedrun streams, now I most of the time either just talk to chatters or a streamer themselves, or just listen to their voice, music and stare at the screen with stone face. Switching the talk to games, I have lately been into totally different things. If you put it in only one word, it's puzzles, although perhaps it's not gonna be completely correct, but that's geotastic, currently already not fully but still partially free GeoGuessr alternative. The math game of Nerdle, Wordle's bro but with numbers, besides that they have plenty of other interesting stuff such as math crosswords, different word games like Same Wordle and other from New York Times, which I've been playing on daily basis for quite a while already, with flexing the nice results on Gavi's server since recently, for I'm just joyful when I succeed at something. This is already listed by me in the bank of ideas. I was streaming it on Twitch pretty much frequently, even when I was making this video, and I suppose it is something I really enjoy doing. Quite fun, meditative, and on top of that, educational activity, especially word games in English, for someone like me as non-native. It helps calming down a lot, and somewhat even washes away negative vibes accumulated inside me, and even seeming repetitiveness doesn't counterweight those effects. I really enter some sort of trance when visiting these websites every day. Another one to mention, it's already now just about a year since I've discovered for myself perhaps the most controversial genre. Many don't even consider it a genre, but I couldn't care less what they might think. I even wanted to put this into the subpart where I was talking if I made it to overcome myself, but couldn't find an appropriate moment. Anyway, I've discovered and did it with fairly positive experience already, the visual novels. I'm not gonna tell how I came to this, anyway you're gonna say or think silently that it was clear with my way to live, so don't even ask. Right now I'm only touching this genre. As of today I've completed, I guess, two most famous Russian pieces, one of which though is being massively hated, and as for me, even overhated, but it's not the point. The point is, I can already say that this genre has exceeded my expectations and actually were a bit affected by imposed stereotypes. Well, if not like fivefold, then just exceeded them without any doubt. Yes, I can agree that it's not even close to the games everyone got used to, in which you, so to say, own the world, but I don't really care. I just enjoy having the opportunity to temporarily zone out of all the mundane, detach from the routine, forget about all the delivery happening around the globe, and just to bliss out in the world where, well, you anyway already completed my sentence, so let me tactically mum. By the way, this is something I don't keep a secret at all on Twitch. On contrary, I almost directly proclaimed it in every layout. Possibly even YouTube was able to see some part of it in some recent votes. And by the way, not even gonna shy away and throw you some sort of an official reveal, whoever watched up to this point. So here you go. As they say, first experience that was uploaded not even privately on Imgur. The link to it is below the screen on Twitch. Well, I guess it's pointless to ask you to rate it in 10 scale and perhaps even a bit too insolently, so just enjoy it. I even was thinking of making something more real quick on such an occasion, but I'm afraid I won't find enough energy for it as the long work on the video itself is yet awaiting me, so that would already be silly. But here is some sort of an Easter egg for you all. Anyway, the same as with puzzles, for me it's some meditation and purifying of my mind and soul, some free of charge, well, almost reserved, and yep, answering now the question, I'm also pleased doing it. The Bank of Ideas has it as the earliest record, number 1, and it's formulated literally as reading novels, because I do have plans to go into this genre even further. I've already received a bunch of recommendations, and I'm curious to see where it's gonna lead me to, but I suppose reading itself is already far too unrealistic idea in terms of coming with at least any turnout. But what I could alter it to, however, it's extremely questionable as of now, is an attempt to create something my own. And yeah, it sounds no less unrealistic, and now it's more about my skills, but sometimes I feel inside myself some sparkles of gambling spirit, I don't know, need for adventure, as well as weak radiance of ideas, but even if something makes out of it, then it seems to me that it's gonna have the same fate as reading, and it just won't fly like at all. I can't say the puzzles flew somewhere either, but that now goes beyond framework of the set question. I've said what I currently like and am interested at, and the questions of assurance in matching my field of interests with one of the audience, especially YouTube one, as for me, is rhetorical. Also, I reckon that you've already paid attention to me not saying the word YouTube for quite a while, and yes, there is a reason for that. Well, whatever you say, but there is no point in denying what's been obvious for this 1.5 years. Activity on my YouTube leaves much to be desired. Upon me doing this mentioned content, I guess it'll sink to absolute zero. So I lack, but I don't see any point in this. Plus, I don't want to flood my main brainchild with such stuff. And I've already said about it before that I know you might think that I'm betraying you by basically trading to the audience from the spot of immigration during mental breakdown. And guys, I don't blame you for that. I understand you, but cannot do anything about myself. I just won't be able to remain for you as the same GTA speed in case of my channel being different from what I always envisioned it and what I want to envision it. Alright, it's something like that for today. I'm sure very approximate and perhaps with tons of stuff underspoken or overspoken that describes the up-to-date situation, and I think now it's just about time for somehow summing it all up and delivering the final words, and I guess let them be the following. All of those who, after watching this video, left dissatisfied with something, felt being betrayed, both as a member of YouTube and Twitch community, offended, deprived, who cardinally doesn't agree with my positions, thinks that I am ungrateful despite all my endless attempts to prove the opposite, and so on, as well as all of those who, as of now, consider themselves not yet stepped over that very barrier between themselves and me in the form of content I create. To say it simple, those who have been with me exclusively for the sake of content and not for the sake of me as a human being, and who are not ready to change their point of view, provided of course such ones would end up being there for one reason or another and would watch this till the second, or at least fast forward. Then I guess I'm gonna say it for the first time within 7.5 years, for all the way before in the end of my videos and streams I've been saying fully the opposite. It's now just the time for you to unfollow and sub from my channels. Merely because it's unlikely that already in nearest future you are going to find here something interesting for yourself, something for which you maybe came here just lately, and overall such me, whom you got used to perceive me like over X time. At its best you can wait until I finish the content I've mentioned before, it'll still take me some time, and I'm truly going to try my best doing it from the bottom of my heart, as long as of course it's still something I'm somewhat capable to do. Trust me, I won't even think of being mad at you, just the opposite, my conscience will be quiet that I've given you all for what you've been around here and spent a certain part of your life. And all of those who've understood me, who've agreed with me, and to whom I'm, in the end of the day, interesting as someone bigger than just a content creator of narrow and specific work field, and who are ready to take a journey with me, so to speak, even to the other side of the world. I'm even having a hard time to pick the right words. Welcome, I guess, to the new era, if it even could be called an era, and if it doesn't end straight away on absence now, unironically, of any content at all, because I'm really clueless what can I say here. I'll have to mull it over. According to Hex Code, I have 5 months left for it. Exactly in this span of time my channel will turn 8 years old. Is it much or few is an extremely relative question. For example, geologically wise, it can be compared to an individual proton of substance in the scale of all observable universe, and for some microorganisms it's dozens, hundreds, or maybe even thousands of life cycles. But I'll put it this way, it is certainly a part of my history, of my biography, and I cannot throw it away, in spite of any unpleasant moments that seemingly do prove the opposite, all the way out loud. Anyway, if something does happen, you'll be in any case posted about it. Maybe I'll keep using YouTube as some archive for highlights or as a blog for updates, so please don't forget about the notifications, bells and etc. But gonna point it out immediately that the content, if it will be there after expiring the deadline or third attempt on Reset's age goal, it's going to mostly take place on Twitch, just because I see it the best this way, and as an artist and creator I feel comfy with it. Please, no offense guys. Speaking of the content itself, may I promising it to myself ends time, but I'm going to reconsider my views on it. If earlier I, let it was unnoticeable even for myself, was trying to do in the first place what viewers want to see, running battles, polls generally and basically working on requests, and often paying the price for it either in voice of conscience for doing it poorly or in voice of common sense for making myself suffer, no. Now it's going to be completely different, and in the first place I'll be doing things I personally like and am interested at, and you already heard what are such things. Of course it doesn't mean that I'll quit paying any attention to the audience and stop listening to you at all, or that I'll be closing my eyes when visiting the dashboard in order to not, God forbid, see the counters. No, but I'll just start taking it more philosophically, less seriously, and I won't be setting myself up for any anticipation of something special. due to one simple reason that the stats for me are long since no more an indicator that I've done something well or rather bad. Yep, obviously I want even that content to find its audience, but let's say we'll see how it goes, if it doesn't go anywhere though. Then well guys, I have nothing left to say, that would really be a heaven's call, and I'll have no other options but this time, without joking, go completely dark. This is something I'm also going to ponder on within 5 upcoming months. And one last thing worth to mention, I guess it refers to both why I would prefer streaming on Twitch to doing it on YouTube, and as one of the reasons why I'm still here, like in general. I even wanted to distinguish it as a separate one, but I didn't find it too correct to put it on one level with the key reasons, importance wise. But whatever, and right now I'm talking about practicing and improving my English. And hopefully it won't be an empty flex or at least a lie, but it seems to me that starting from 2018-19, when I began using English in my streams, when talking to other streamers or their chatters and in many other places, my English level has grew more than throughout all the time I was studying it in school, which for me is nothing but pure joy, because English, despite all the events, remains crucial language in science, and for me it's just giga important, so I'm immensely thankful to these years that got me in contact with those who practically helped me to master it. Well, this word I think is far too strong though, but you got me in essence for free, and I've done it without putting it any effort. So guys, I sincerely thank you all for that, for coming to my streams, for tolerating my crappiest English. That means the world to me, and sometimes I don't even consider myself deserving it. I feel like I owe you one, but sadly have nothing to offer you. Hopefully that at least I sound somewhat bearable and my possible mistakes do not make your ears or maybe even eyes, if you consider the layouts, bleed. Thank you all once again from the depths of my soul, for whatever reason you're still here yourself. And I guess there you have it for now, dear gamers. I'm thinking of what could be said more in this particular part of the video, but already nothing more comes to my mind. I've pulled everything I could out of it, and after all, can I even come up with anything when perhaps I've never ever been in such a situation when my favorite content creator, watching whom became for me like some part of the lifestyle, suddenly declares that they just cannot keep it going and is afraid to stall with finishing all the way till the point of that terminal stage when it's already the pitch darkness knocks into the soul and mind, and even the void ceases to exist, dies out that very last photon of light that you could leave after yourself as a memory after the quitting, and it would warm up the audience forever and ever. And so they prefer to quit, but quit, if it could be said so physically, with leaving after themselves that version of themselves their audience loved. I've never experienced anything like that. Yes, I saw similar instances at the channels that I either haven't watched at all or watched like hardly ever, but that's totally different case, so I reckon I've truly rest my case here, and with quite hesitating but yet confident heart, I eventually call it a day and invite you all into the final part of the video. To be honest, I feel like the strongest flow of emotions and sentiments is right about to splash out of me, and if converting it into words, then it would make a full-fledged DLC to this video, but I'll still try to keep myself as cool as possible and say, at last, my very final thoughts. I don't have a single clue how long this podcast is gonna take. I'm even fearful to guess. The only thing I felt back when I was roughly in the middle of working on Russian version is that long enough in the very beginning must be replaced with very long, and that's it. It seems to me that it's the biggest mental work I've ever done, not even over my channel's lifetime, but overall my own lifetime. For now I really can feel all my life flashing before my eyes. Hopefully it won't pay me a visit during voicing over, because I don't feel too good with that, on one hand. But on the other hand, I feel like I've just indeed gone through some sort of purgatory or a retreat for my mind and soul. Back when I was just planning this podcast a whole year ago, I would have never thought of ever deciding on something like that. And actually, I would have never done it, neither this video nor a bunch of other pieces of content I've created, if it wasn't for the first and the most important reason out of all those I've talked about today that keeps me here the tightest. I've already said it countless times within 7.5 years, but it is one of the cases when too much doesn't exist, so dearest viewers of this video, on it's that moment, it doesn't matter which community you belong, YouTube or Twitch one, when you're watching this video, slightly after its release or much after it. when it would probably be placed somewhere and pinned as a confession and explanation of the reasons why did it happen, if it actually does happen. For how long you support me? Since forever, or you found about me just once from recommendation feed and now you came back here in the same way? How exactly you support me? By actively chatting on streams, or rather just silently watching the PB highlights or normal videos that appear when pigs fly, and endless number of other factors, including not even related to the internet at all, I am longing to give you my most sincere and huge, ever since my channel saw its first light, gratitude, just for the fact that you exist, somewhere miles away from me, where perhaps I won't end up ever in my life. I'm grateful to you for every single view, every single like, every single appearance, every single comment on a stream. I'm grateful to you for all the ideas, all the help that you've provided me with over all this time, for taking part in the polls. I'm grateful to you for every single GG in the end of successful speedruns, and every single cheering message after yet another reset, even after my ban. I'm grateful to you for your patience and pardoning my constant winning, actions of my fickle mental, all the lies, and all the other things I've done along my way. I'm grateful to you for every single minute, every single smallest fraction of your life that you gifted to me. I'm grateful to you for that with every molecule and every atom of my body. Believe me or not, where I'm now and what I could expect 7.5 years ago are things of merely incommensurable in any way. 1/3 of my life. When I was just starting out, being a 15 years old schoolboy, basically a child, I didn't wait for anything. I didn't wait for just being able to start and go at least somewhere with it. However, here I am, talking to you like an actual some screenwriter of visual novels, being on certain stuff, and my spirits are simply being sieged away, and brain is blacking out. This is plainly surreal. I've never been thinking about it like in truly sincere way, but at the moment I just don't have enough words in my vocabulary to precisely describe my feelings. Just once again, guys, thank you all for everything. Thank you that I'm here now for a reason. I hope that this video has triggered your positive emotions and positive resonance in your soul in spite of all its drawbacks, and I'm sure there are gonna be tons of them here, for the volume of information is just unprecedentedly large. In essence, it's just giant vast flow of my thoughts, memories, sentiments, emotions, and I just physically won't have enough energy to proofread and double check this all. Obviously, I've done my best for fitting it to perfection, not gonna hide, added a lot compared to what original Russian version had, and fixed some its mistakes. However, if something does remain unfixed or under-edited, I'm sorry once again. Well, and also for my sub-philosopher cosplay, and for possible flaws in dubbing, monotonous voice, wrong intonations, and etc. Again, hopefully you understand the amount of work that has been done, which though personally I can't wrap my mind around, but I guess overall my channel's lifetime I also committed much worse deeds. Yeah, here I'm gonna take, I guess, another like second detour from the script. Yeah man, sorry that this actual video didn't turn out like I envisioned, and that I recorded in a semi-sick state right now, sitting with 38 centigrade temperature, trying to struggle my best to record it to the end. I'm sorry man that it sounded in my unnatural voice and barely I had any emotions during recording, but unfortunately I felt like burning out period coming up for me. I already can feel its smell a mile away, so I was hurrying up to finish it before I actually burned out completely, because I still have to work on visuals, I still have to work a lot on editing, and hopefully this editing is gonna take it at least to some level. So man, sorry for that once again. Hopefully you ain't much offended, but it is what it is. Sorry once again. I'll try my best to give it at least some shape of adequacy on the editing. And lastly, once again, sorry for my inglendo. Not to be too modest, I've applied enormous effort to translate into English. It took me almost the same as writing an actual original script, and I hope that it hasn't been to completely zero effect, and that it's turned out at least somewhat bearable, and again, haven't made your ears bleed. Probably you still got a question though, Speed, and what's gonna happen if do you actually abandon us? Will you be gone from the internet as it is, or will you somehow still be with us? Well guys, firstly, let's not talk about the sad stuff. So far I'm not going anywhere. Let's solve the problems as they come. And secondly, basically I already indirectly answered this question in the previous and in main one as well part of the video. So just gonna say it again, that it's only gonna be my physical entity that quits, but not the one of spiritual. For now, I haven't reached yet the point that, as I've researched abandoned channels, was even reached by the same Vadim M. I'm only having a creative crisis rather than burning out, which is, as I consider it, times more frightening than the former, which is why there is still no that very terrifying emptiness which is to swallow up all of existence. And I'm going to stay in the form of this weak flux of light that will be representing exactly the right me, the one you got used to see and the one you love. Of course I won't be completely gone from the internet. I will continue for as long as I can attending streams of other guys on Twitch. I always greet myself with once I know. I've already said that frequently me watching the streams is exactly just me communicating, so I'll be there, as some of you unironically name the king, the legend, well, and they, as the saying goes, do never die. Furthermore, being fully sincere, my content isn't something vital. It's long since stopped being unique, if even it ever was one, so I'm sure that you're gonna find something for yourself that you would also enjoy. Maybe even more than me. The key to the success here, as for me, is only eagerness and optimistic mindset. If you though, for one reason or another, after watching this video, are going to, on contrary, leave my channel yourself, then, yet again, I blame you not guys. I'm anyway no less grateful to you for all the duration, amount and form of your support. Trust me, I really understand you and perhaps, somewhere deep inside, even agree with you on some point. Alright bros, that seems to be it. Thank you now already for watching this video. I said that it might gain an absolute zero of activity despite all my attempting to plug it in beforehand, but I've already said that making it exclusively upon call of soul and heart, so I couldn't care less on that matter. But nevertheless though guys, please, all of you who are watching again, regardless of whichever community you're from, whenever, wherever you're now here, please write your thoughts, opinions on what you just heard in the comments. Although I don't know what might be commented after such an epopee, but if you have any reasons to comment, to speak out, maybe to simply talk to me now, then do it please. I'll try to answer everything and hopefully YouTube notification system will let me do that. If anything, drop by my upcoming streams. You have my word on that they still will be here there for some time. You can talk to me in real time there. Anyway, please write yourself guys, for me it's going to be the best presents for a long time, because I really don't know, I just can't believe I'm finishing to write, or in this case translate this script, which perhaps is gonna be my worst night dream ever, and that I'm working on this video in general. But like I already told you, I've considered it mandatory to make it, and I'm making it. Simple as that. Anyways, once again, huge thanks you all for attention, and I didn't already want to ask you, but still, very politely and subtly gonna ask you about leaving a like to this video for all my effort and suffering. Trust me, in this video I've contributed myself all, the soul, the heart, the memory, etc. One more time, thank you for all the rest. If you don't mind, I'm not gonna list it all again. With the biggest joy and most sincere happiness, I'm gonna wait for you all to come watching that very guaranteed content on new streams, so please notifications, bells, community tab, this unchanging starter pack, hopefully something you've already learned by heart. Please come, I'll be immensely glad to see you. I wish you all, absolutely to all and each of you guys, health, happiness, love and blue skies over your heads. Believe me, if you have that, as someone calls it trivial and boring set, it means that everything is already fine and not even maybe already without my presence. As most likely I'll drop this video on May 31st, I also wish you all, and I guess even to myself as well, the warm, bright and vivid summer. May it turn out for you, in some terms, everlasting one, with everlasting good vibes, good things and good moments, and reverberate in your soul in the best way, the same way as I'm pretty sure this video is going to reverberate inside me for a long time to come. For final time, big thanks for watching it, thank you all for the rest. Comment, like, activate the notifications and come to streams if you're interested in it. Well, and at this very final moment I, if you pardon me, can't help but cut in a video fragment with a quote by one famous Russian blogger, or rather they were famous like 7 years ago already, I guess. If any, I'm not even close to being their fan, but It's this exact quote that got stuck in my heart so much, and I agree with it so much that I even wanted to somehow integrate it into the podcast itself earlier, but just failed to find any appropriate moments for it anywhere except for now, so leaving it here. Obviously it will be in Russian, but I'll cover you with the subtitles.
Я тоже говорю тебе «да», потому что каждый блогер достоин шанса. Ведь любой человек уникален. И в этом и сила интернета. Никто не должен запрещать человеку идти к его мечте.
And as usual, it was me, GTA Speed, aka Maxim2337, who was working for you. As of releasing this video, I'm not saying my goodbyes, cause we're gonna catch up. But anyway, let me tell you all that I merely adore you, and that you all the goatest. As goatest as I am for podcast percent Chivo. Once again guys, my very best wishes to you. Thank you for being by my side for the third of my life. Peace, love, and at the highest chance, till the time, I'll see you soon. Again. And remember, enjoy and get thrill in life of virtual, but live with the one of real. Stay safe everyone, and see you all brothers later. Bye bye.